They can love you. They can want you. They can even dream of forever with you. But it never lasts. Not because you weren't enough. Not because you didn't give enough. And not because they didn't feel anything. It ends because of something hidden. Something buried so deep inside of them. They can't even explain it to themselves. This is the truth behind why avoidant love feels so intense in the beginning, but always seems to have an invisible expiration date. The cycle that always begins the same. Every story with an avoidant starts beautifully. You don't notice it at first. In fact, it feels like magic. They show up with energy. They listen. They laugh. They connect. It feels like you've met someone who finally sees you. Someone who doesn't just glance, but looks right through into your soul. That early stage is intoxicating. And here's why. For the avoidant, new love is safe. It's full of possibility, but not full of risk yet. In those first days, they can give affection. They can share smiles, touches, late-night conversations. Because none of it requires what they fear the most: dependence and vulnerability. They can love without the weight of needing. And in that space, they shine. This is why so many people describe their avoidant partner as amazing in the beginning. They were amazing because in the light stage of love, the avoidant feels free. But slowly, the moment love starts becoming real, the cycle begins to shift. The more attached you feel, the more they start to feel trapped. Not because of you, but because love awakens something they've buried. A fear of being engulfed. A fear of being controlled. A fear of losing themselves inside of closeness. And suddenly, the person who leaned in with warmth begins to lean back with distance. At first, it's subtle. Texts that were instant now take hours. Conversations that flowed now feel guarded. Plans that were exciting suddenly get canceled. You feel the shift in your stomach before you even see it. Something has changed. And here's the cruel part. The avoidant doesn't even fully understand what's happening inside of them. They tell themselves, "I just need space. I'm busy. I don't know what I want." But deep down, it's fear. Fear dressed as logic. Fear disguised as independence. They're not really pulling away from you. They're pulling away from what closeness represents in their nervous system: danger. And this is where most relationships with avoidance begin to crack. You feel the distance, so you try harder. You lean in. You reassure. You remind them of your love. But to the avoidant, your love now feels heavy. It feels like pressure. It feels like demand. The very thing you offer, care, stability, closeness, becomes the very thing they resist. This is why the avoidant's love has an expiration date. Not because they stop loving, but because the moment love requires vulnerability, their defenses rise higher than their feelings. Here's what makes it even more painful. The avoidant still feels love. They don't stop caring. They don't stop thinking about you. In fact, after you walk away, many avoidants admit they never stopped feeling. But feelings alone can't hold love together. Not when fear is louder than connection. Avoidant love often burns bright, but it burns fast. Because without the safety to be vulnerable, they can't stay in the fire without feeling consumed. So they run, or they sabotage, or they slowly starve the relationship of intimacy until you're the one who leaves. And the cycle repeats. New love, new hope, the same quiet ending. The hidden reason avoidant love never lasts isn't that they don't care. It's that care collides with fear. And fear, unless healed, always wins. That's why it feels like there's always a timer ticking down. No matter how much joy you build together, the moment vulnerability arrives, the expiration date comes due. This is the cycle you've seen, the pattern you've felt, the heartbreak you can't explain, not because your love was weak, but because their fear was stronger than their ability to stay. And until that fear is faced, avoidant love will always feel like something borrowed, never something kept. The fear beneath the love. Love should feel safe, but for the avoidant, love feels like danger. Not because love is dangerous, but because, deep in their nervous system, love and danger are wired together. This isn't something they chose. It isn't something they decided. It's something that was programmed, long before they even understood what love meant. Think about it. Every child learns what love feels like, not through words, but through presence. When you cry, does someone come? When you reach out, does someone hold you? When you need comfort, is it safe to ask for it? For the avoidant child, the answer was often no. They reached, but no one reached back. They cried, but no one came. They needed, but need was met with silence. Or worse, with rejection. So their nervous system learned a painful rule. If I need, I get hurt. If I depend, I'll be abandoned. If I show my heart, it won't be safe. That rule didn't disappear in adulthood. It simply grew more sophisticated. Now, when an avoidant falls in love, their body remembers the old truth. Closeness means risk. Vulnerability means pain. Dependence means disappointment. So while their heart says yes, their body says no. And that inner conflict creates the expiration date of avoidant love. Here's what that looks like in real life. They enjoy the early stage of the relationship because it's light, it's fun, it's safe. But as soon as love deepens, their defenses awaken. You text, they wait longer to reply. You ask to spend more time. They suddenly become busy. You share your heart. They shut down. To you, it feels like rejection. To them, it feels like survival. And here's the heartbreaking irony. The avoidant wants love. They want closeness. They want someone who feels like home. But the moment they start to have it, fear whispers, you'll lose yourself. You'll get trapped. You'll be hurt. So they do the only thing they know how to do. They pull away. They create distance. They test the relationship by withholding. Not to punish you, not to play games, but to breathe, to calm their nervous system, to feel safe again. But here's where the expiration date gets sealed. When you feel them pulling away, you do what any loving partner would do. You reach out. You try harder. You reassure them of your love. But to the avoidant, this feels like pressure. The very closeness they're afraid of is now magnified. And suddenly, your love, the thing meant to soothe them, feels like the very thing they must escape. So what happens next? Some avoidants vanish completely. They disappear without explanation. They end things cold, not because they stopped feeling, but because they can't handle feeling. Others stay, but the relationship becomes hollow. They stop investing. They stop opening. They stop letting you in. You're together, but you're lonely. You're close, but you feel distant. It's love, but it's starved. This is the paradox of avoidant love. They long for intimacy, but they can't sustain it. They crave connection, but they sabotage it. They feel deeply, but they act distant. And the deeper you love them, the faster the expiration date approaches. Here's the hidden truth. Avoidant love doesn't fail because of you. It doesn't fail because you weren't enough. It fails because the avoidant's nervous system is still fighting battles from long ago. To their heart, you are safe. To their body, you are danger. And until that conflict is healed, love will always feel like a battlefield. They can't win. This is why avoidant relationships feel like running in circles. One moment they're close, the next they're gone. One moment they're warm, the next they're cold. One moment they're talking about the future, the next they're questioning everything. It isn't indecision, it's fear. And fear doesn't negotiate with logic. It doesn't listen to reassurance. It doesn't care how much love is on the table. Fear only cares about survival. And for the avoidant, survival means distance. So when we ask, why does avoidant love never last? The answer is this: because lasting love requires closeness. And closeness is the one thing the avoidance body is trained to avoid. But here's something important. This cycle isn't hopeless. It isn't permanent. It isn't unchangeable. Avoidant love doesn't last until the avoidant learns to feel safe with love. And that is the hidden key most people never see. The expiration date written into avoidant love. Every love story has a rhythm. The highs, the lows, the pauses in between. But for the avoidant, love doesn't just have rhythm. It has a timer, a silent countdown, ticking in the background. At first, everything feels alive, fresh, exciting. They're drawn to you, fascinated by you, pulled into the rush of discovery. In those early days, you don't see the timer. You just feel the intensity, the spark, the chemistry. It feels real. It feels deep. It feels like it could last forever. But hidden inside the avoidance nervous system is a truth they don't even realize. A truth that writes an expiration date on every relationship they enter. Why does this happen? Because for the avoidant, love is safe only at a distance. The beginning feels safe because it's filled with possibility, not permanence. They can show up. They can be charming. They can even be affectionate. But in the back of their mind, a voice whispers, "This won't last. It can't last. It's not supposed to last." And when the relationship starts deepening, the timer gets louder. The first sign is subtle: a hesitation, a delay in response, a little less eye contact. You might not notice at first, or you might explain it away. They're just tired. They're busy. They're stressed. But it's not about stress. It's not about time. It's not even about you. It's about the ticking clock. The closer they get to you, the more their body panics. The more they panic, the louder the timer gets. And then, without warning, distance appears. Here's the painful truth. For the avoidant, the expiration date isn't about losing interest. It's about losing safety. They still feel love. They still feel attraction. They still feel something pulling them toward you. But at the same time, their nervous system screams, "Run, escape, protect yourself." So they pull back, not because love has died, but because fear has taken over. Imagine it like this. You're holding their hand. It feels warm. It feels steady. But in their mind, that hand is also a trap. The longer they hold on, the less free they feel. And the less free they feel, the more they want to let go. That's the expiration date. The very thing they longed for. Connection, love, intimacy becomes the thing they believe will swallow them whole. So they withdraw. Some withdraw quietly. They stop returning calls. They become too busy. They let the relationship die slowly, as if by neglect. Others withdraw suddenly. One day, everything feels normal. The next, they're gone. They say they need space. They say they're not ready. They say it's not you, it's them. And you're left with the same ache. A love that felt alive, ending without warning. But here's what most people don't see. The expiration date isn't random. It isn't personal. It isn't about your worth. It's predictable. It's patterned. It's wired into the avoidance system. It happens whenever love grows too close, whenever intimacy becomes too real, whenever they feel like they might need you, because need, to them, means danger. Think about how confusing this is. You give them your heart. You give them your patience. You give them your care. And at first, they respond. They smile. They let you in. They may even tell you they feel safe with you. But then, The shift happens. Your love doesn't calm them anymore. Your presence doesn't reassure them. Instead, it feels heavy. It feels smothering. It feels like something they can't carry. That's when the timer hits zero. The most tragic part? They don't even fully understand it themselves. Many avoidants can't explain why they leave. They can't explain why their feelings changed. They can't explain why they lose interest so suddenly. To them, it feels real. It feels like they really did fall out of love. But the truth is different. They didn't fall out of love. They fell into fear. And here's where so many partners get trapped. They believe they can reset the timer. That if they love harder, give more space, say the right words, do the right things, maybe the avoidant will stay. But you can't outlove a nervous system in panic. You can't outwait a fear that was built in childhood. You can't outrun an expiration date that's been ticking since the very first spark. Because it's not about you. It never was. The expiration date is a reflection of their past, not your present. It's the shadow of a childhood, where closeness meant pain. It's the scar of a history, where love couldn't be trusted. Until that wound is faced, until that scar is healed, every relationship they enter will carry the same clock. But here's the key, and it's something most people never realize. The timer doesn't mean the avoidant doesn't care. It doesn't mean they're incapable of love. It doesn't mean they're cold or heartless. It means they're afraid. Afraid that love will consume them. Afraid that intimacy will erase them. Afraid that depending on someone will reopen the wounds of being let down. So when their love expires, what you're really seeing isn't the end of feeling. It's the end of what they can tolerate. They can't tolerate closeness without feeling trapped. They can't tolerate intimacy without feeling unsafe. They can't tolerate dependence without hearing echoes of their past. And so they end it, not because the love was false, but because the fear was stronger. Here's the paradox. The more deeply you touch them, the faster the expiration date arrives. Because the more they feel, the more they fear. And the more they fear, the sooner they run. This is why avoidant love feels so confusing. Because it's not about whether they loved you. They did. It's not about whether they valued you. They did. It's not about whether the bond was real. It was. It's about how long they could survive before the fear inside them became unbearable. And that limit, that hidden expiration date, is why avoidant love never lasts. The cycle of distance and return. When the avoidant pulls away, it feels final. The silence feels endless. The distance feels permanent. The wall between you feels unbreakable. But here's the strange part. They rarely stay gone forever. After creating distance, after shutting down, after convincing themselves they don't need you, many avoidants circle back, not because the fear is gone, but because the bond is still there, because the love never really disappeared. This is the cycle that confuses so many partners. Pull away, come back, withdraw, return. It feels like whiplash. It feels like a game. It feels like they don't know what they want. But in truth, the cycle is not about wanting or not wanting. It's about needing both safety and connection, and not knowing how to hold them at the same time. Think about it. When they're close to you, fear rises, so they withdraw. But once they've pulled away, loneliness rises, and so they return. It's not love that's inconsistent. It's safety that is unstable. They love you in both states, but only one state feels survivable at a time. Here's how the cycle usually unfolds. At first, there's connection. Things feel warm. Things feel close. The bond feels alive. But then intimacy deepens. You get more invested. You share more. You ask for more. And that's when the panic begins. To them, it feels like pressure. To you, it feels like normal closeness. So they step back, sometimes quietly, sometimes dramatically, but either way, they retreat. During this distance, you feel abandoned. You feel confused. You question what went wrong. You might even start blaming yourself. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I pushed too hard. Maybe I scared them off. But what you don't see is that the avoidant is also struggling, because distance doesn't bring them peace. Not for long. At first, they feel relief, like they can breathe again, like they have space, like they're safe. But over time, relief turns to emptiness. Emptiness turns to loneliness. Loneliness turns to longing. And suddenly, they miss you. This is when the cycle bends back. They start thinking of you. They replay the good moments. They remember the comfort you brought. And slowly, they return, sometimes directly, with a message, a call, a casual check-in, other times indirectly, through subtle signals, liking a post, commenting on something, finding excuses to reconnect. To you, their return feels hopeful. It feels like maybe the wall is gone. Maybe the distance has ended. Maybe the love is stronger this time. And for a little while, it is. They come closer. They let their guard down again. They open their heart, just enough to feel safe, just enough to feel loved. But then, as intimacy builds again, the fear reawakens, and the cycle repeats. This cycle can last months, sometimes years. For some, even decades. It's not about cruelty. It's not about manipulation. It's about survival. The avoidant is torn between two instincts: the instinct to connect and the instinct to protect. And when those two collide, you get the endless loop of closeness and withdrawal. Here's the hardest part. For the partner, the cycle feels personal. It feels like rejection. It feels like love that isn't real. You wonder, how can they love me and leave me? How can they care and still run? How can they say I matter, but act like I don't? The contradiction is unbearable. The push and pull tears at your soul. You're left questioning your own worth, your own sanity, your own understanding of love. But here's the truth. The contradiction isn't about you. It's about them. It's about the battle between their heart and their fear. Their heart wants closeness. Their fear wants safety. Their heart says yes. Their fear says no. And so you live in the in-between. Loved, but not fully held. Wanted, but not fully chosen. This cycle creates something dangerous. Hope without security. Because every time they return, you believe it's different. You believe they're ready. You believe the love will finally last. But every return is just another turn of the wheel. Every return carries the same expiration date. Every return sets you up for the same ending. And without awareness, without healing, the cycle doesn't break. It only repeats. But let's pause for a moment. Because here's something you need to hear. Their return doesn't mean you imagine the love. It doesn't mean it was fake. It doesn't mean you weren't special. The reason they come back is because the love is real. But the reason they leave again is because the fear is stronger. This is the heartbreaking reality of avoidant love. It exists. It matters. It changes them. But it can't last. Not until the fear is faced. So where does that leave you? In a cycle of almost love, of near intimacy, of temporary closeness. A cycle where you feel chosen, but never fully kept. Where you feel loved, but never fully secure. And over time, that cycle erodes you. Because the human heart isn't built for half love. It isn't built for temporary safety. It isn't built for a bond that resets every time fear wins. This is why avoidant love never lasts. Not because it isn't real, but because the cycle keeps repeating. Distance, return, distance, return, until you realize It's not about what you did wrong. It's about what they never learned to do right. To feel safe in love, breaking the pattern and moving forward. The cycle feels endless, but it doesn't have to be. Avoidant love doesn't last because fear keeps winning. But fear doesn't always have to win. The truth is, patterns can be broken, cycles can be healed, and you can choose whether to stay trapped in the loop or step out of it entirely. Here's the first truth you need to hold on to. You cannot fix their fear for them. You cannot love it away. You cannot reassure it into silence. Because their fear is not about you. It's about old wounds, old stories, old defenses built long before you arrived. You didn't cause it, and you can't cure it. But here's what you can do. You can decide how much of yourself you'll give to a cycle that doesn't give back. You can decide whether you'll keep waiting for change that never comes, or whether you'll step into your own healing. You can choose to stop surviving on crumbs when you deserve a full meal. Let's be honest, every time the avoidant returns, it feels like hope. It feels like the love is back. It feels like maybe this time will be different. And that hope is what keeps you stuck. But hope without change is just a trap, a beautiful trap, a warm trap, but still a trap. So how do you break free? First, you name the pattern. You stop pretending it's random. You stop believing it's your fault. You stop telling yourself that if you just loved harder, it would last. You recognize the cycle for what it is. Love entangled with fear. Affection laced with withdrawal. Closeness wrapped in distance. And once you see it clearly, you can no longer unsee it. Second, you reclaim your needs. Because in this cycle, your needs get silenced. You learn to shrink them down, to wait patiently, to settle for little, to celebrate small returns, instead of demanding lasting presence. But love that costs you your voice isn't love. Love that silences your needs isn't love. Love that only thrives when you disappear isn't love. Your needs are not too much. Your needs are human. Your needs are the doorway to real intimacy. And if they can't meet them, it doesn't mean your needs are wrong. It means this cycle is wrong for you. Third, you begin the work of stepping out of the loop. That doesn't always mean leaving immediately. It means seeing clearly. It means noticing when the cycle restarts. It means pausing before you step back in. Because every cycle has a door, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes to find it. But what about them? Can the avoidant change? Yes, but only if they want to. Only if they're willing to face the fear they've been running from their whole life. Only if they choose to do the hard work of unlearning their defenses. And that choice can't be made for them. Some will never make it. Some will avoid healing the way they avoid love. But some will rise. Some will see what they're losing. Some will decide that safety without love isn't safety at all. But again, that choice is theirs, not yours. So where does this leave you? It leaves you with freedom. Freedom to say, I will no longer live in a cycle. I will no longer wait for temporary love. I will no longer confuse longing with lasting connection. Because love isn't meant to be a tug of war. It isn't meant to be a loop that never ends. It isn't meant to be a test you're always failing. Love is meant to feel safe and alive. At the same time, breaking free is not easy because your heart remembers. It remembers the good moments. It remembers the warmth. It remembers the times when their love felt real. And those memories pull you back in. But memories are not enough. You cannot build a future on a past that keeps collapsing. So healing begins with grief. Grieving the love that almost was. Grieving the closeness that never lasted. Grieving the dream that couldn't survive the fear. And grief, though painful, is what sets you free. Because once you grieve the cycle, you no longer chase it. You no longer mistake its return for hope. You no longer confuse temporary presence with permanent love. And then you step into something new. A love that doesn't punish you for needing closeness. A love that doesn't run when things get real. A love that doesn't leave you wondering when the next withdrawal will come. A love that is steady. A love that is safe. A love that lasts. If you've been caught in this cycle, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not unlovable. You are not too much. You are not the reason they keep leaving. You were simply caught in someone else's battle with fear. And now, you have the chance to step out of it, to reclaim yourself, to choose love that stays. And here's the final truth. The hidden reason avoidant love never lasts isn't because it isn't real. It's because it's never safe enough to stay. But you deserve a love that lasts, a love that stays, a love that doesn't vanish the moment it feels close. And the moment you believe that, the cycle loses its power. Because real love doesn't keep you waiting. It doesn't keep you doubting. It doesn't keep you hurting. Real love chooses you again and again. And that's the kind of love you were made for. If this message touched you, remember, healing begins with awareness, and awareness grows when we share it together. So if this resonated, don't keep it inside. Tap the like button, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more insights on love, healing, and attachment. Because you are not alone in this journey. And together, we're building a space where love becomes safe again,